I'm live. Okie dokie. And I'm live on Instagram. Okay. Today is Wednesday, I think. How's everybody feeling? Wait to see if I can get a few people in here. There's a YouTuber. Don't have anyone on Instagram yet. It is another cloudy day here in Nashville. I don't know if I'd rather it be cloudy or sunny on these quarantine days. I'm not sure. So I was thinking today that I would do a flow, but I wanted to do some extra focus on alignment today. So as we move through some of the poses, I'm going to take some time to really break it down. So it's not going to be as vigorous as a flow, but I'm going to take an opportunity to really teach you proper alignment. So we're going to start. Again, just prefacing this with, you are your own teacher, you are your best teacher. So if there's anything that I'm doing that doesn't feel right in your body, if you feel pain, then back off, modify. So that's kind of what I want to go over today, is like modifications and things you can do to slowly build strength towards some of these regular poses that we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. Hey, Megan. Yay, Sarah. So I was just telling the YouTube channel that today I'm going to do a little bit more of a sort of workshop-y style class where we're going to break things down. I'm going to talk about alignment and really focus on teaching everyone kind of modifications for things and understanding where you're supposed to, like what muscle groups you're supposed to be feeling in the pose, and how to modify for that and what the poses should look like. So it's not going to be as vigorous as a flow today, but it's going to be challenging, because sometimes holding things for a long time is equally challenging, and you build that stamina in your muscles. So we're going to do that, and let's get some nice good stretching in today too, hips and shoulders, and really enjoy that. All right, so find your mat. You're gonna come down onto your back and bring your hands onto your belly. You can keep the feet up like this. If you want to extend the legs long, you can. You're just gonna close your eyes if you feel comfortable with that, and start to really focus in on your breath. So notice if you're holding on to any tension in your breath. So if you need to take a nice exhale out the mouth, to really let go and release unnecessary tension in the body. You do that as many times as you need. Until you feel like you can settle into a calmer, softer breath. So vinyasa yoga, that word vinyasa means linking the breath to the pose. So traditionally, a vinyasa flow, you're meant to breathe with the posture. So you link them together. And also traditionally, in vinyasa yoga, we like to use ujjayi breath. So ujjayi means victory. You find ujjayi breath by restricting the back of the throat. It's the same way you find that HA sound out the mouth, that but you find it in and out your nose. So it's a little easier to find on your exhales, a little trickier to find on your inhales. And it's not a forceful breath. So sometimes you'll hear people really like in their class, but really it's meant to be a very calm, steady, controlled breath. So that hissing sound should be really subtle. It might be loud, it might be soft, but it's really an effort to lengthen your breath. So you narrow out the stream of air by finding that restriction. And that hissing sound gives you that vibration in the back of the throat to kind of feel. Good. And the idea is that you're trying to maintain this ujjayi breath throughout the vinyasa flow. So you're trying to maintain this nice steady breath, connecting it to the poses. Now keep in mind that that is really challenging to do. So if at any point you feel like you're really losing that oxygen or that carbon dioxide that you're not getting enough out, you feel kind of like you need to gasp for breath, then you can supplement using your mouth. You can open your mouth and breathe and just try to regulate your breath again, knowing that you're always just sort of trying to work to come back to this ujjayi breath. Good. So maintaining this ujjayi breath as best you can, just start to reach the arms over the head, find a full body stretch. And then you're gonna grab opposite wrist or forearms, and you're gonna take your feet mat width distance. So taking your right foot, cross it over the left. So both legs are crossed over on the left side of the mat. And then you've got those arms over your head, and you're gonna just take the arms over to the left side of the mat. So you get this nice arch down the right side of the body. You feel a little side body stretch here. So as you inhale, you feel how the lungs expand, the ribs expand, the muscles expand. And as you exhale, you feel yourself open a little deeper into those muscles. Keep breathing here. Good. And then you're going to release that right leg back over to the right side of the mat. We'll go walk back to the center. And so your feet are mat width distance. This time you're going to take your left foot, cross it over the right, and then walk those arms over to the right side of the mat. So now you feel this stretch down the left side of the body. You might even feel this a little bit in your IT band on the outside of that left leg. Good. Take one more deep inhale. And then exhale, releasing the arms back, release the legs, and then slowly start to pull the knees into the chest. So rocking side to side, massaging the low back, and then just drop the knees over to the right side. Keep that left shoulder planted, find a twist, breathing up the back. Good. Inhale, take the knees through center, and then drop them over to the left side of the mat. Keep your right shoulder planted. Nice little twist. Good, and then inhale, bring the knees back through center. This time you're just gonna roll all the way over to your right, finding a fetal position, curled up on your side, nice and cozy. And in this cozy space, your joints are all bent in towards your heart. It's a really safe space to be in. You should feel a little comfort and ease here. A lot of us like to sleep this way at night. This is the way we grew in the womb. It's a really familiar and comfortable pose. So in this place where you feel kind of safe and cozy, give yourself an opportunity to just feel a little gratitude. Just think about something in your life that you feel grateful for. Just trying to tap into that place where you feel good and happy and content. And then to get out of this, we're going to do it really slow. So take that left hand down on the earth beside you. Extend the left leg long. So let your head stay really heavy. And then just slide yourself all the way up. Your head is the very last thing to stack. And then we're going to find a comfortable seat. So feeling those two sits bones root down into the mat. Bringing your hands. Let's do palm down on the thighs. So I'm doing palm down because that makes you feel a little bit more rooted, a little bit more grounded. However, if you feel like you need a little bit more energy today, you can take your hands palm up. So either just take a soft gaze down towards the earth or close your eyes, just noticing how you feel sitting in this seat. So all of the poses that we do in yoga, yoga is an entire philosophy. Modern yoga is based off of an 8-limb path. So one of those limbs is asana. Asana is the posture. So all the postures that we do, what you think of as yoga, is just one part of that 8-limb path. So that word asana literally translates to comfortable seat. So back when yoga began, there was only a few asanas, I think something like 12. And the point of these asanas were to get your body stretched out strong so that you could then find a comfortable seat and meditate. So in this seat, before we have moved through most of the poses, just notice, do you feel comfortable? Is there a part of your body that feels tight or achy? Maybe your low back, maybe your hips, maybe your shoulders. Just kind of take note of what parts of your bodies feel good, what part feels bad or just not comfortable. So just scanning the body, noticing how you feel in your seat. We're going to meet back in this pose at the very end of class and reassess. So just try to build awareness. What parts of your body need a little bit of attention? Good. Before we take any movement, just take a deep inhale and imagine that that fresh energy and oxygen is moving right into that space where maybe you feel some tension or pain. And on your exhale, see if you can let go of any of that tension or pain. Do that again. Deep inhale into the spaces that need it. Exhale, see if there's anything you can let go of. One more, just like that. Deep inhale into the space that needs it. Exhale, releasing. Good. So blinking open the eyes. We're going to make our way into a tabletop position. So stacking the shoulders over the wrists, the hips over the knees. So from tabletop position, I know that you're out there, Jeff, my brother. I'm going to try today to give you some modifications for your hand because I know your hand's hurting you. So for tabletop position, if being up on your hand like this hurts, you can always come down onto your forearms. So it actually feels really good on your forearms. So even if you don't have any wrist pain today, maybe you want to try coming down onto your forearms. So you can press the palms together or just press the hands down into the earth. We're going to take cat-cow from here. So on an inhale, you feel yourself tilt the tailbone up, drop the belly, pull the chest through the arms. On your exhale, you're going to press and round. Good. So inhaling for cow, pull the heart through. Exhaling for cat. So do about 3 to 4 rounds with your own breath. So I really like to sway forward and back when I do this. Just really trying to make sure that you're getting every part of the spine, not just concentrating on one particular area. So from your tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. Good. And then once you make it through that third or fourth round, just come back to that neutral space. So you can still be on your hands or your elbows, doesn't matter. We're going to inhale, take that right arm up, open a little twist. Exhale, take your right hand, weave it behind the left. Come onto your right shoulder, right ear. And then just breathe into that space where you feel it. So you might feel this behind the right scapula. You might feel it across the deltoid, the front of that right arm. If you want to take that left arm up and over for a little half bind, you can. Good, and then inhale, bringing yourself back up. Whatever variation of tabletop feels good. And then inhale, take the left arm up, open up, look up. Exhale, weave the left hand behind the right, coming down onto the left ear. Breathing into that space behind the left scapula, across the left deltoid. If you want to take the left arm or the right arm up and over for a half bind, you can. You can just leave it down if you want. Good, and then inhale, back up. Good, so we're coming into puppy dog pose next. So your hips stay stacked over your knees. You're reaching your arms out long. So you can either do a more restorative puppy dog by just having the arms hang, the forehead to the mat, and just really feel that extension in the low back. If you want to do a little bit more active puppy dog, you can come up onto the fingertips, lift the elbows up. You can even bring your chin to the mat. But if chin to the mat strains your neck, just bring your forehead down to the mat. So feel yourself pulling the shoulders back into their sockets. Feel the armpits reaching towards the mat. Get this nice stretch. So you're getting that opposite curve in the thoracic spine. So it's a little bit of a heart opener. Good, and then you're gonna slide the hands back. So puppy dog pose can be the modified version of downward facing dog. So you can stay with the knees down and do this for downward facing dog. You can also do dolphin pose on your forearms, which is pretty tough. It's requires a lot of shoulder strength, but that's another modification if you don't want to be on your hands. It's just a little tougher. But if you're ready for it, you can come down to downward facing dog here. So pedal out your feet, stretch through the ankles and the calves. Good. And then walking the feet forward, coming to the top of the mat for ragdoll. So just hang out here in ragdoll. You can grab opposite elbows if that feels good. You can shake your head out, yes and no, to really release through the neck. So when you stand upright, you have to hold your head on top of your shoulders. So these neck muscles and shoulder muscles are used to engaging for literally hours at a time, same with your back muscles, to hold you upright. So when you're upside down like this, these muscles are getting pulled in the opposite direction. They don't have to hold the head up anymore. So those muscles might not be used to doing that, so they might still hold on. So you really have to make the effort to see if you can let them go. So maybe shake the head out, shake the shoulders out, shift the jaw left to right. Make sure you're really actually letting these muscles go. So sometimes that takes a little bit of time. So you have to breathe and feel the muscles sort of surrender to the pose. Good, and releasing the hands. Keep a little bend in the knees and slowly roll yourself all the way up to standing. Let the head be the very last thing to stack. And then once it does, shake it out. Shake the arms out. Good. Finding Tadasana. So feet are inner hip width distance. The palms turn forward. So the reason that the palms turn forward is so that you can get the shoulder, this sort of little external rotation. So while you're here, again, I'm breaking this down for you. So oftentimes people round in like this with their back. That's kind of what causes the hunchback. You know, we're typing on our computers, we're driving. So this humerus down here is rolling in. So it's like counterclockwise in towards your midline. So we're trying to counteract that by feeling this external rotation. So feeling it roll clockwise away from the midline. So that's why we do the palms forward, because it helps you to really feel that opening. So if you maintain that openness through the shoulder, you can turn the palm towards the legs. Just don't let yourself get that internal rotation with the shoulder. So you feel that sort of external rotation to counteract all the internal rotation we do, but we're working on neutral really. So when you're here, if you're a real good student, which I see happens a lot, is that we overcompensate and we do this. You see how my chest is sticking out? So you through my heart. I'm getting that heart opener here. So as if you were knitting these bottom ribs together, you feel this little pull together. So that's going to neutralize. So you're not overdoing it and rounding forward. You're not overcompensating and opening up. You're knitting the ribs, getting a little bit of an external rotation from the shoulders and finding neutral. So that's the point, neutral. So I think a lot of times we cue to what the typical problem is, which is rounding. But if you have a lot of body awareness, I was a dancer for a long time, so I overdid it. And when teachers would be like, open up, I would overcompensate, and then I have this pain in my back, and it was like, oh, because for me specifically, I need to come back to the middle ground. So same thing with the hips here. So you'll hear people say, tuck the tailbone, tuck the tailbone. So typically we cue to the average yoga population, which right now it's getting better, but right now in America it's women, and a lot of women stick their butt out like this and they get this overarch. We call it duck butt. But a lot of men don't have as much flexibility in their hips or tighter hamstrings, and they'll get cowboy butt and under tuck like this. So I was a ballet dancer, and they taught me to tuck, 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 tuck. So I had the under butt, cowboy butt thing happening. So really what I needed to do was to untuck a little bit and neutralize. So you really have to figure out what's good for you. So your pelvis is like a bowl. So just play around. Maybe bring your hands to your hips. Feel yourself spill the pelvis forward, find that duck butt. Feel yourself tuck the tailbone under, and then try to find neutral. So it looks a little different for everyone. So maybe just play around, tilt forward, tilt back, tilt forward, tilt back, and then find neutral. So you should have a slight curve in your lumbar spine, not an exaggerated one, but you don't want it to be completely gone. You find just a little bit of a curve to find neutral. Good. And your feet are inner hip width distance. Yesterday I talked about getting your heels behind your big toe, or in between your big toe and your pinky toe. So you're not out like this, you're not in like this. You're finding those heels right behind the toes. Spread your toes wide. So that's Tadasana. It's complicated, but simple. Good. So from here, take a deep inhale, let the arms rise up over the head. Exhale, swan dive forward. So Uttanasana, forward fold, getting into your hamstrings, folding here. Inhale, find Ardha Uttanasana. So Ardha Uttanasana is about finding that neutral spine again. So when you fold it over to forward fold, you might round through the back a little bit. So that halfway lift is bringing the hands up a little bit, and then you rise up to find this neutral spine. So maybe you have tight hamstrings. Don't straighten the legs and round like this. I see this all the time. So look what's going on with your back. If you need to bend the knees, pull the hips back to get this neutral spine, do it. Another thing I see all the time is people looking forward. See how my neck is straining up? So look straight down. Think about your cervical spine being neutral as well. So you're really neutralizing the spine in this halfway lift on an inhale. And then exhale, you can fold back forward. Good, so from here, bringing your fingertips to the mat, let's just step the left foot back to a lunge. Drop the left knee and tuck the left toes. Get this right knee stacked over the ankle. You're rocking forward to open through the front of this left thigh. Good, so bringing your hands up onto your right thigh. So try not to spill forward in your pelvis here. It's easy to sink into our joints in these poses. So use the muscle control to kind of lift and neutralize the pelvis. And you'll notice that when you do that, you feel a little more stretch in the top of this left thigh, which is the point of this pose. We're opening through the hip flexors and the quad. You might feel this in your hamstring, a little bit in your hip, just depending on what's tight in your body. You might feel it in different places. But really right now, we're really working on opening through the front of the left thigh. So take one more inhale here. And then exhale, sit back for half split. So straightening through the right leg. So we're focusing on the hamstring here, getting into your right hamstring. So this hamstring connects to the back of the knee and back up to that sit bone. So it's like you're pulling those sit bones back. Again, in this pose, a lot of times what I see is you think, oh, I'm supposed to fold over and bring my head down on my leg. But instead of stretching through the hamstring, I see this happening in the back, and it's just going to strain your back a little bit. So try to lengthen through your spine. You can bend your knee to pull the hips back. Let the focus be on your hamstring for this half split. So there are some poses with intention that we round in, and there might be some variations that we just decide to do that. But for this purpose right now, we're focusing hamstring. You try to find a neutral spine. Good, and then on your exhale, bend back into that knee. Good, so I'm gonna turn towards you for this next pose. So maybe you wanna find yourself a book or a block or something. You're gonna bring it to the outside of the right foot. So you're gonna heel toe that right foot out. So see how my right knee and my left knee are like tracks on a train? So you're gonna bring it out as far as you can comfortably, and the right knee should be stacking right on top of that ankle. And then you can take your right hand to that blanket or block or pillow, and then you're gonna lift the left arm up and reach over. So this is targeting one specific hip flexor, your psoas. So your psoas likes to give you issues. If you're a runner, you might have heard of your psoas being tight. So your psoas starts at this inner femur bone, the inside of that leg. We're getting into the left one right now. And it runs back through your pelvis and connects to 5 vertebrae of your spine. So as you do this, you reach over. It's one of the only hip flexors that allows you to move laterally, so out to the side like this. So that's why we're reaching over like this. We're really targeting your psoas muscle. Good, and then exhale, let's bring your hands to the inside of the right foot. I'm literally watching my neighbor walk her cat on a leash right now. Crazy times, crazy times. So we're in runner's lunge now. So you might need to walk that foot back in a little bit. So again, it's still a little lateral. It's still over to the side. So we're still kind of getting into that psoas, but really joining in with all the other hip flexors. So if your psoas is tight, it can hold all the other hip flexors back. So really targeting that psoas can help to open up through the rest of the hip flexors. Good, so from here, you're just gonna lift the hips up. We're gonna slide that leg back, just coming into a tabletop. And then you're gonna take the big toes to touch, knees wide, reach the arms out long, coming in to child's pose. Just give yourself a few minutes here to breathe, reconnect to your breath. So since I'm doing this workshop style today, I'm talking a lot. I'm giving you a lot of information. I don't expect you to absorb it all today. So if something I'm saying just doesn't make any sense, that's okay. Later on, it might click because you've heard it once. And luckily, this video will be on my YouTube. You can go back and watch it again. And you know that I'm always here. If you have any questions, you can message me and we can talk about it. Good, so when you're ready, you're gonna press yourself back into down dog. Looking forward in between your hands, exhale, slowly walk to the top of the mat. Let's find ragdoll again, shake it out. Inhale, find that halfway lift. Remember, lengthen through the spine. Think about the neck staying nice and long. And then exhale, fingertips to the mat. This time, step your right foot back to a lunge, drop the knee, untuck the toes. Good, so you're rocking your hips forward to get into the top of the thigh. Make sure that knee is stacked over the ankle, bringing the hands to the hips. Now to the thigh. Now you feel this little tuck here. So you're not spilling and dumping everything into your joints. You feel this slight little tuck. You feel this opening through the hip flexors here. And you can knit the ribs too. So you're not like this. You knit the ribs and find neutral in the spine. Good. And then exhale, sit the hips back, half split. So same thing as the other side. You pull the hip flexors or the sit bones back, working on the hamstring of this left leg. Good, and you're gonna bend back into that left knee. So we're gonna get into that psoas stretch on the opposite side. I'm turning towards you so you can see what I'm doing. So you're gonna bend to that left knee. You're gonna heel toe that foot out and up. So right knee and left knee are wide apart. That's that lateral movement. You take your left hand over to the outside onto a block or a pillow or something, and then lift the right arm up and reach it over. So targeting your psoas, that starts in the inner femur bone, moves back through your pelvis, connects to the 5 vertebrae of the spine. So you might even feel this in your low back a little bit. Remember to try to breathe. So if it's really intense, just try to find your breath. See if you can calm those muscles down, allow them to rest a little. Good, and then exhale, you're gonna bring the hands to the inside of the left foot. You might need to walk that foot back in a little bit to find your runner's lunge. So again, we're still getting into the hip flexors, still a little bit into that psoas. Good. And then from here, you're just gonna lift the hips up, take that leg back, and find another child's pose. Give yourself a moment to absorb, process this information. For those of you who are just joining us, I see on Instagram more people popping in. I'm doing a workshop style class today where I'm taking a lot of time to really break down the alignment and the anatomy of the poses. So I really do think that having this information and understanding how your body works empowers you. So, some days I'll be like, oh, I'm in pain. I figure out what part of my body hurts. And I know a stretch that I can do to help, or a strengthening pose that I know will help. So the more you know about your body, the more you are capable of helping yourself. So I know a lot of people have a hard time retaining this information, but I know that just by hearing it, it's in there and it's a seed that's planted. So maybe you don't know it off the top of your head, but maybe instinctively you start to learn these things. So when you're ready, you're going to press yourself back into downward facing dog. Get yourself forward and come all the way up to standing. Good. So you're going to turn to the right. So staying at the top of the mat, turning to the right, you're going to take this right foot, step it wide. Good. So we're going to break down the warrior poses. I know you can't see my face right now, but I think you can hear me. You can see my face on YouTube. So if you want to go to my YouTube, it's in my profile. So from here, you're going to take your left toes and you're going to point them straight forward. So your hips, this femur bone is now spiraling open. This right femur bone is going to also try to spiral open. So your pelvis should stay level. If this right hip bone is kind of sticking out a little bit, just do your best to try to open, but don't force it. So if you still have your hip bone kind of forward a little bit, take your toes, your right toes, and then turn them in slightly to match the direction of that hip. If you've got that hip all the way open, the toes should be facing straight forward. So you want that outside edge of that foot to be parallel with the back edge of the mat or slightly turned in, depending on your hip flexibility. So either slightly turned in at a 45-degree angle or parallel with the back edge of the mat. And then from here, you're going to start to bend into this left knee. So keeping this left knee stacked over the ankle, you feel this external rotation. So you've got hip rotators in the back here by your glutes. So literally like squeeze your butt to help you feel this rolling open. So a lot of times I see this back hip kind of stick up like this. See how if I could draw a line from my hip bones, it'd be up. So you want to feel these hip rotators on that right side, squeezing to pull it down so your hips stay level. And then this knee should be rolling open so you can see your big toe in front of your left knee. And then if you could draw a line from the front heel down, it would go to the back arch. My shoulders are stacked right on top of my hips. Active arms to the fingers. You gaze over that left middle finger. This is warrior two. Good. So you might feel the burn happening. From here, you're going to flip the left palm and inhale for reverse. So legs are staying exactly where they're at. You're lifting and reaching back. We're intentionally getting this stretch on the left side body. Avoid the shoulders crunching up into the ears. So feel that external rotation, pulling the shoulders into their joint. You look up towards the left finger and your palm, let me see, for YouTube, your palm, or for Instagram, should be facing down and you're reaching up and back. Good. So legs stay solid. They might be burning. We're going to rise up. And then from here, we're going to slowly transition into extended side angle. So you want to reach forward as far as you can reach. So when you can't reach any further forward, keep your torso where it's at and just shift the arms. So see this transition here? My torso is just reaching to the side. I don't want to see this. This is what I see happen all the time. As soon as the arms go down, watch my right side body. It goes whoop. So it's not about touching the ground here. It's about extending to the side at an angle. So I really love to see a line from the outside edge of that right foot, shoot all the way up that side body, and then all the way over the arm. So you get that nice angle. So that might mean you're really wide like this. It might mean you have to come up a little bit and your stance goes a little shorter. But really trying to engage these obliques, and if you could see your spine in an x-ray, it'd still be straight. It'd just be at an angle. So let's take one more exhale. You're probably burning. And then release the hands to the mat. Let's step back to down dog. Pedal it out. Good. And then walk your hands back towards your feet. Let's do a little Padahastasana. So bend your knees as much as you need. Take the palms of your hands and step on them. So bringing the toes all the way up to the wrist crease, you bend your knees as much as you need. Trying to compress through the palm and the fingers. Good, releasing the hands one at a time, slowly rolling up. Your quads might be burning a little bit. And then we're gonna turn to the side again. So turn to the right again. And you're gonna take your legs out long. Good, so we're gonna do the opposite side now. So from here, you're gonna take your right toes, pivot them out. So the toes are straight forward. The back edge of that foot is either parallel with the back edge of the mat or slightly turned in. It's gonna match where this left hip is. So if your hip's slightly turned in, you're working to roll it open, but you don't wanna force it. If you feel pain in that low back by forcing it open, keep it turned in slightly, but you still feel this external rotation. Good, from here, you're gonna start to bend into this right knee. Make sure that this left hip is down in line with the right, so avoid the urge to shift up. Feel these hip rotators in the back here, squeeze and pull it down. And then active arms to the fingers. You gaze over that right middle finger. This is warrior two. You see your big toe in front of that right knee. That heel is in line with the back arch. Good, you flip your right palm. Inhale, reverse, up and back. Breathing into that right side body. You keep the legs where they're at. You might feel the burning sensation. That's building stamina. And then exhale for extended side angle. So you reach as far as you can reach. And then just shift the arms. Avoid the urge to round through that left side body. I see that all the time. So you feel this bottom left rib pull towards the top of the left hip. So squeezing the oblique. Your spine is still straight. It's just at this diagonal. If you want to create that nice long line through that left side body, you get a bonus point. Love it. Shapes. Good. One more exhale. And then release the hands to the mat. Step back. So now we're at the back of the mat. It's okay. You can just find a seat. Take a moment here to breathe. So I'm not teaching Iyengar right now, but I'm very inspired by Iyengar yoga. To get your Iyengar certification, it's like a year-long program, and you have to go through a 3-year-long internship. It's very, very serious. But if you were to go take an Iyengar class, it's a studio specifically called Iyengar. We have one in Nashville. It's very similar to kind of how I taught those poses. You do a pose and you hold it, and they critique it, and then you pause, and they do it again. So it's kind of like nerdy yoga. You learn every little detail. But I think it's important if you take the time to really learn the alignment, and then when you go into a flow class, you feel a lot more confident in your poses. And it just takes you to a whole new level. So even though we haven't moved very fast today, you're probably feeling this. When you hold poses like this, for me at least, it's like I feel it closer to my bone. I start to feel it kind of quivering and shaking because you're really learning on a very deep level, which I think is so, so valuable. All right, so from here, we're gonna turn towards me, take the legs out long in front of you. All right, so your feet are your foundation. We cram them in shoes our whole life, so the toes get crammed in. So bunions, when that big toe is pushed in, this side of the bone can get pushed out, and that causes a bunion. That can also happen on the pinky side toe. So think about those muscles, like see how I can spread my fingers wide. You can spread your toes wide, not as wide, but wide like that too. And if you look at babies, their toes are like, blah. But over time, we squeeze the toes into shoes, and those muscles lose a lot of flexibility. So I'm gonna do a pose to help you try to find some more flexibility in your toes. Think about when your toes can spread wider, you have more surface area on your foundation of what you're walking on. So if your toes and your feet feel good, that ripples all the way up your body. So toes and feet feel good, your ankle feels good, your knee feels good, your hips feel good, your back feels good, your shoulders feel good, your neck feels good. It all reacts to each other. Your body is interconnected like that. So you're gonna take your left foot onto your right thigh here. So this is a little funny. Just do it if you feel comfortable. If it's weird to you, you can just laugh at me. So you're taking that left foot in. First, just give yourself a little massage. So take your thumb, rub down the arch of your foot, the outside edge of your foot. Just kind of giving your foot a little love, understand what your foot feels like, what you need. And then from here, you're gonna take your right hand. This is where it gets weird. You're gonna take your fingers and you're gonna interlace them in between your toes. So the pinky goes in between the baby toe and the one next to it. I don't have to describe every toe. So finger in between the toes. So you kind of like get this interlaced grip of your toes. So from here, this is a lot. You might feel those toes spreading wide. You might not be able to get them down completely. But I want you to take your left hand and grab the big toe and just pull it away from the other toes. And then you can start to push the toes back towards the top of the foot. This feels pretty crazy. I actually witnessed 2 yogis once sit face to face and interlace their toes together. So their toes and the other toes interlaced, and then they stood up, and it was really hard to watch. And I'm too terrified to do that. But if you feel so inclined, find somebody, your quarantine partner, if you have one, and do it. If you don't, just do it yourself with your fingers. Good. So from here, you're going to release that grip. And let's just take that left foot to the inner right thigh. So taking your hands to either side of that right leg, find a nice inhale through the spine, and then exhale, hinge from the hips, folding over. So there are 2 variations of this pose. You can try to continue to find a long spine and hinge from the hips, really focusing on hamstring. Now, like I was saying earlier, there are different variations for different things. So I'm going to turn to the side so you can see me. So this one, we're going to intentionally round through the spine. So you might need to bend your knee. You're going to tuck the chin, round through the upper back, take your forehead to the knee. So again, you might need to keep your knee straight, but this is about rounding through the back, getting this compression on the front line of the body. Good. If you've got that roundedness going, slowly roll up. Let the head be the last thing. Just stack. And then release. So now you're going to take the left leg out. We're going to take the right foot into the left thigh. And again, give yourself a little foot massage here. Find those spaces that feel tight. Sometimes the arch of the foot hurts. Sometimes the outside edges of the foot hurt. Good. Good, and then from here, you're going to take your left hand and you're going to interlace the fingers in between the toes on the left foot. So trying to get them down in there. And then you're going to take your right hand and grab the big toe, just pulling that toe away from the other toes. And then kind of pressing the toes back towards the top of the foot. So the only way I can describe this sensation is, and people with short hair might not understand it, but if you've ever had long hair and you have it pulled back for a long time, and then when you release it, the grain of the hair goes in its natural, direction, and you kind of have that like, sore, but really good feeling. That's what this reminds me of. Like your toes are meant to spread open like this, but we've kept them tight into shoes for so long that it's like, it hurts, but it hurts so good. Good, and then go ahead and release. So there are these things called, there's a brand called Yogi Toes that do towels for mats, but there's another brand called Yogi Toes that are like these little plastic things that you can put in between your toes, and they just stay there. Sorry, buddy. That's the dog that I live with. He's freaking out. Buddy, come on. Sorry about that. All right, so you could use some Yogi Toes if you'd like to really work on stretching the toes out and creating a longer lasting effect. Cool. All right, I think Buddy's calmed down. Okay, so moving on, we're gonna just come down to our backs. We're gonna do reclined pigeon here. So you're gonna take the right ankle to the left knee, and you're gonna reach for the back of the left thigh, pulling that leg in towards you. So if you need a little more in this, if you really wanna get deep into this, you can release the left foot and just keep that leg in. I like to take my foot to the left elbow hook, and then the knee to the right, and you can pull the leg in. So that's if you have super open hips. If you just want to keep that reclined pigeon here like this, you can. Good, and then slowly releasing the left foot down. So keeping that ankle to the left knee, this figure 4, you're going to take the legs over to the left. So I like to take my left hand and grab the foot, keeping your right shoulder down. So the left leg's just kind of resting down, and this right leg is still in that figure 4. The more you push that right knee away from you, the more intense you feel it in that right hip. Good, and then inhale, bring it back up. Releasing the right foot down. This time taking the left ankle to the right knee, interlacing the hands behind the right thigh. You can find this reclined pigeon. And if you want a little more, you can release the right foot and then just take that leg in. I like to hook my elbows around the knee and the foot and pull the leg in. But remember that takes pretty open hips, so don't let this kind of strain your back to get here. Just find a place that you feel like you're really feeling this in the outside of the left. Okay. Good, and then slowly release, one at a time. Good, we're gonna bring the hands down to the sides. So the feet are underneath the knees. You're pressing into the hands and then pressing into the feet to lift the hips up, finding bridge pose. You can stay here. Maybe you wanna interlace the hands underneath the low back and roll to the outside edges of the shoulders. Good, releasing the hands, the shoulders, and roll all the way back down. Finding one final pose. So you can do whatever pose you feel like you need. If you want to do happy baby, you take the knees down towards the armpits. So take them nice and wide. The soles of the feet up towards the sky like you're stepping on the ceiling. So maybe you start by just taking the hands behind the thighs, pulling the knees down. Maybe you can bring your hands up to the calves. Maybe you come to the outside edges of the feet. So you don't want that low back to lift up like this. So keep that low back down on the mat. If that means you move your hands down, then do it. So again, sometimes the modifications of poses, like sometimes just grabbing the backs of my legs like this feels pretty good. So even if you have the flexibility, trying other variations might tap into another particular place that you haven't felt before. So during my yoga training, they made us do all of the modifications for a week that any teacher offered. And what I found was there were certain poses that I was doing incorrectly or I wasn't feeling it in the right place. So even if it's kind of your ego telling you sometimes, like, I don't need to do that. But then trying it and realizing, oh, you know what? I wasn't doing it totally right. Or like I said, sometimes it just feels good to have a different version, a different variation. Modification doesn't mean less. It just means different. Good. And then releasing into your final Shavasana, letting the legs come out long. Arms out by your side. Feet flop open. And just breathing here. I'm going to put it on mute because we got the puppy. So while you're here in this final Shavasana, taking this opportunity to really let go. Remember, you learned a lot today. I talked a lot about alignment. I don't know how to mute it. So you're welcome to stay here as long as you want. But when you feel ready, just slowly taking your time, making your way up to a seat. Bringing your palms together at your heart. The teacher in the light in me honors, respects, and sees the teacher in the light in you. Nothing like a dog barking to wake you up, get you back into your routine. Thank you guys so much for coming again today. If you feel inclined to send me a Venmo at Erica Porter, Erica-Porter, go ahead and do it. I'm going to sign out. I'll see you guys tomorrow.